Today, we will explore a fascinating theme: the origin of Iranians in the Bible and how the history of Iran is intertwined with biblical prophecies. Stay with us until the end to discover these intriguing connections. To understand the origin of the Iranians in the Bible, we need to go back in time and look at ancient Persia, which corresponds to modern Iran. Persia was one of the great world powers during biblical times, known for its vast territorial extension and cultural influence. Since the reign of Cyrus the Great, which unified the Medo and Persian empires, Persia has played a crucial role not only in global politics, but also in the history of the people of Israel. Cyrus is celebrated in the Bible by his decree that allowed the Jews to return to Jerusalem and rebuild the temple, a significant event that marked the end of the Babylonian exile. In addition to Cyrus, other Persian kings such as Darius and Xerxes are also mentioned in Scripture, illustrating the ongoing interaction between Persia and Israel. The efficient administration and religious tolerance policy of the Persians allowed a period of relative peace and prosperity for the Jews. This historical context is fundamental to understanding the spiritual and prophetic connections the Bible makes with Persia, and how this relationship has shaped important events in both Jewish history and Christian tradition. The Bible mentions Persia and its kings several times, highlighting their significant role in Israel's history. One of the most prominent characters is Cyrus the Great, who is praised in the book of Isaiah as anointed by God, Isaiah chapter 45 verse 1. Cyrus is recognized by his decree that allowed the Jews exiled to Babylon to return to Jerusalem to rebuild the temple, as recorded in Ezra chapter 1 verse 1 to 4. This act not only marked the end of the Babylonian exile, but also symbolized the restoration of the Israeli nation and the continuity of its religious practices. Besides Cyrus, other Persian kings such as Darius and Xerxes are also mentioned in Scripture. Darius, for example, supported the completion of the rebuilding of the temple, Ezra chapter 6 verse 1 to 12, while Xerxes is known in the Bible as Ahasuerus, who appears in the book of Esther. These mentions not only highlight Persia's political influence, but also underscore its continued interaction with the Jewish people, showing how Israel's fate was often linked to Persian rulers during this crucial period. Biblical prophecies often mention Persia, highlighting its role in the divine plan. In the book of Daniel, especially in chapters 10 to 12, there are views that many scholars interpret as references to the Persian Empire and its influence on Israel. These views include details of future conflicts and events involving Persia, revealing how God would use this empire to accomplish his purposes. The prophecy in Daniel chapter 10 verse 13, which mentions the Prince of Persia, is a significant example of how the spiritual and earthly forces were intertwined in the divine plan. In addition to Daniel, the book of Ezekiel also makes prophetic references to Persia, particularly in Ezekiel 38 to 39, where Persia is listed among the nations that will join Gog in the battle of the end times. These prophecies not only highlight the geopolitical importance of Persia, but also underline its relevance in eschatological events. Persia's constant presence in biblical prophecies demonstrates how this empire was seen as an instrument in the hands of God, playing an essential role in the realization of his plan for humanity. The history of Iran in biblical prophecies reveals a profound spiritual dimension, showing how God uses nations and leaders to accomplish his divine purposes. Persia, under the reign of Cyrus, exemplifies this clearly. Cyrus is described as anointed by God in Isaiah chapter 45 verse 1, though not an Israelite, noting that the divine plan transcends national boundaries and identities. Cyrus' permission for the Jews to return to Jerusalem and rebuild the temple symbolizes the restoration and continuity of the Jewish faith, a crucial step for the Messianic lineage. This interaction between Persia and Israel reflects the belief that God directs world history and events to fulfill his promises. Persian influence allowed a period of spiritual and cultural renewal for the Jews, demonstrating that even great empires can be instruments in the hands of God. Thus, the biblical narrative of Persia offers a rich perspective on divine sovereignty and the way God works through nations and historical events to accomplish his will and care for his people. Exploring the origin of the Iranians in the Bible and the history of Iran in biblical prophecies reveals how God uses nations and leaders throughout history to fulfill his divine purposes. From the influence of Cyrus the Great in the restoration of Israel to the prophetic views of Daniel and Ezekiel, we see that Persia played a crucial role in the biblical narrative. This rich history not only highlights God's sovereignty over historical events, but also offers us a deeper understanding of the complex relationships between cultures and nations over time. Today, Iran remains an important figure on the global stage, and biblical connections help us contextualize its contemporary relevance. Understanding these historical and spiritual roots can provide us with a broader view of possible future developments, both politically and spiritually. We hope that this exploration has enriched your knowledge and aroused your interest to continue investigating the fascinating intersection between history, prophecy, and divine sovereignty.